morning that he will be moving the state into phase 3 at the same time, given no information about what phase 3 will look like for the state of Louisiana. So it's very difficult for me to respond when I don't have the information. And a parish, one of the largest in the state, not having information. Again, the city of New Orleans is in phase 2. We will remain in place. We will continue to let the data drive us. But where the data has driven us today is to ensure that our kids are returning to school starting next week. The priority, again, is for us to have a full complement of our students in the classroom, and not only getting them there, but keeping them there throughout the school season. That is the goal, and that is the priority.
Thank you. Previously, you had said that you would be keeping a close eye on what happens when schools do reopen. Can you just reiterate for us today, is that still the case? Will you still be looking at that as a major factor in deciding when to move into the next
Oh,
year?
absolutely. With one of the primary reason for us staying in phase 2, not moving with further easement of any restrictions, is to get our kids back into the classroom, have the time that will allow us to look at the data, look at the trends, and therefore determine the impact, whether positive or negative. That will then allow us to continue to move our kids back in until we get to that 100% mark. That is the priority for this city and for the community, for all of our children to have access to on-site instruction, because it is imperative to their growth and also to our economy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This may be a question for the mayor as well. LHSAA announced yesterday that high school football practice can go to full contact starting today. What does that mean for football teams here in Orleans Parish? Will they be able to do the same?
Okay, so as it relates, Doc, you can definitely chime in on this one because we've been round and round, but the reality is this: the city of New Orleans is in phase 2. And so the guidelines that are in place as it speaks to any contact sports, bottom line, we're in phase 2. As I stated on yesterday, we will continue to look at the data. Wait to see what the guidance what comes out of LHSAA. Everybody's making decisions, but not giving real clarity on what the decisions mean or the impact that those decisions will have. Well, we have to look at all the data, and we will do that. And I have given the approval to my CEO of NORD, Dr. I'm sure he acts like one, for sure. Larry Barabino Jr., who is our CEO of NORD, will be leading a task force specifically on high school football and working with all of our partners, both, of course, public, private, rec, all throughout, and over the next several weeks. And that will aid me and Dr. Begno of making any further decisions relative to football and contact sports. But Dr. Begno, you want to chime in?
So I think the real question that we're asking is, how does LHSAA propose to keep athletes, coaches, staff, and their families safe? And I think, if we are truly focused on the health and safety of our children and their families and staff, that's got to be the starting point. We have reached out to LHSAA to ask them for their updated guidance on what they would consider in a football season, in a football game, in terms of practice. They are not ready yet. They don't have it yet. They have assured us that as soon as they do, we need to review that. We have already started having conversations with folks on the national level, trying to get what best practice recommendations there are. Because, again, our only priority is the health and safety of children and getting them back into schools. And if there is a way that we can figure that out, and athletics can be done safely, but that's really where this starts. So we look forward to receiving the guidance from LHSAA. I look forward to having a conversation and working through all of this with Larry, with all of the representatives from the schools. But again, it's really hard to make a decision if you don't know what health and safety guidelines and decisions made.
So, and a follow-up, any idea how long we will remain in phase 2? Because obviously there's a lot of questions about, not just high school football, but also professional football when we have these Saints games. And I know that Saints ticket holders are hoping to get back to the Dome for the 9/27 game. What are the thoughts on that?
Again, we haven't gotten any information from the state on what phase 3 looks like. So for now, we are in the phase that we are in until we receive more information.
And again, I don't know how to say it. Until kids get back in school, that's the priority around here. So kids are the priority in school instruction, and that will, as we move forward, we'll measure how well we do and continue to rotate, public school students back into that classroom until we are at 100%. And of course, with parents continuing to have the option of virtual versus on-site instruction, that is the priority.
I apologize, it's kind of a similar question, but we get a lot of questions. I'm going to make it hopefully simple as possible. Yes or no, can high schools play football starting today in October in the city of New Orleans? Yes or no?
I just answered that question.
But it wasn't, with all due respect, I think there's a lot of confusion.
With all due respect, phase 2, what confusion? We've been in phase 2, we will remain in phase 2, the guidelines are very clear.
So yes or no, can high schools play football?
Phase 2.
I'm sorry.
What does it say?
I'm just asking yes or no, can high schools play football?
You're asking me a question, however, you thoroughly understand what phase 2 means. You also understand the guidelines that are in place, and that's where the city of New Orleans will remain as it relates to football.
Thanks, Joe.
So I had one more question. Sorry.
Next question.
Sorry.
Just to be clear,
Sure.
there are.
Can you answer that, Ms. Dr. Vogt? Yes or no, can high schools play football?
That's not the question.
It's yes or no. I think people watching this want to know yes or no, can we play
As of
football?
now, in the phase 2 guidance, in the city of New Orleans, contact sports are not allowed.
Okay.
There are guidance that allow for non-contact drills, which the schools have all been doing. So what a football team could do 2 days ago, they can continue to do today, as of now, until we see how LHSAA has any plan to keep children and coaches safe. That will not change until we can figure that out.
How is Tulane practicing football and how are the Saints playing on Sunday in the city of New
So
Orleans?
the Saints have applied to the state for a workplace exception, that this is their place of work. The LHSAA does not govern Tulane football.
Okay.
Thanks, Trevor.
But what about the city? Isn't Tulane in the city of New Orleans? So how are they practicing contact sports on a campus in the city of New
I
Orleans?
haven't had a conversation with Tulane about what they're practicing or not practicing.
But they've been practicing for a month.
Travers,
Sorry.
let's go.
Sorry.
Come
Okay.
on, thank you. Two apiece.
Dr. Henderson, how many, it's pre-K through 4th grade, about how many students are we talking about will be back?
Yes, so I don't have that exact number, we can provide that.
Okay.
But again, our school system, of course, we have 45,000 students, and so a fraction of our students, again, will be starting in-person learning, and what we hope to do over a period of time is be able to move forward with sending all 45,000 students back to school.
And it's a full day for the
Yeah,
pre-K through
so
4th?
again, great question. When we go back to in-person learning, it is a full day of school, right? And even as we're doing virtual learning, whether we have both synchronous and asynchronous activity for our students, it's still a full day of school.
Okay.
Thanks, Phil.
Thank
Go ahead, Dan.
For Mayor Cantrell, question I've seen a couple of times online, people have asked about Bourbon Street. You've seen crowds gathering up there. Has there been any thought to stopping the pedestrian mall at night? People have suggested online that cars going by might stop people gathering.
Sure, so my public safety team is actually looking through the different methods for further enforcement. We are looking at issuing citations as well, being more proactive, being in those areas prior to events kind of gathering or people congregating. We understand that Bourbon Street is not only the focus here, but we've seen pockets throughout the city of New Orleans where these type of large gatherings are happening. So the public safety team is restructuring our protocols and really wanting to, be more aggressive on that front end. And what I mean by that is issuing citations and making it very clear to the public that we will have to go this route. We have tried not to do that, but when you see the levels of non-compliance, it is forcing us to take just another level of action. We're looking at right now, I have asked to whether individuals who will be issued a citation, could that put them in jeopardy of receiving their unemployment insurance benefits? It's my opinion, you can't receive public resources, but at the same time violate public mandates to keep people safe in the city of New Orleans. And so these are some of the things that we're looking at. We know that we're limited in our capacity to enforce everything simultaneously. And it is pretty unheard of when you want to overlook public responsibility. And that's something I can't teach people. I can only demonstrate that. And not only me, but other citizens in this city that continue to do the right thing. And I'm really pleading to them to do not be discouraged in well-doing, because it's making all of the difference. And so what will come, I'm hoping, is just another level of enforcement. But what I also hope is that we have another level of civic responsibility, particularly those who consistently violate the mandates. But it's not helping any of us, but I really do expect more aggressive enforcement. But I'm actually waiting to hear back what the city can do as it relates to individuals being issued a citation, yet being able to receive a public resource. Thank you.
I have one last question.
Yes.
What would you say to businesses, particularly bars in the French Quarter, who say that they can't hang on any longer,
Yeah,
that they are just
I understand.
at the end of the rope?
It's tough. We're looking for a local solution to a federal problem here. Okay, this is the reality. The federal government has not been a real partner in this from the very beginning, and we heard information just as of yesterday. So looking again to the local municipality to solve a federal problem and to make our people whole, that's what I'm going to continue to focus on. Making all of our people whole, because they should be whole. They should be. So from the bars to the bartenders to all of the business owners in the city of New Orleans, no, it's not fair to them. No, it's not. We're looking at the local government to solve all of that. It's a false expectation. So we have to, one, continue to push and advocate at the levels that will get us the resources that we desperately need here in the city of New Orleans. And from my standpoint, that is resources that were distributed to the state government, as well as resources that we're pushing for additional from the federal government. So it's a work in progress, but looking for a local solution to a federal problem, I think we have to turn the map around on that.